Welcome to Awkward Conversations. We are Seth and Saundra Dunn, and we like to come to you with these, what we think are amazing videos. Actually, people are telling us they're really good. So we like to come to you with topics that are interesting and awkward, and today is really different.
We have no idea what we're going to talk about today.
We don't.
Because we are trying something doing something a little bit different. Just today, we don't know how long we're going to do this, but we have somebody else choosing our conversation. So we shall see.
So here we go. Okay, here's the envelope.
It's like opening a prize.
I know, right? Either that or it's going to bite us, one of them. I don't know which it is.
Nah, it won't bite us.
Come on, open it like a Christmas present.
Oh, I like it. Don't get married if... ...
Okay. So we're supposed to talk about myths surrounding what marriage actually takes and some big misconceptions people have that should make them think twice about getting married. Well, since we're newlyweds,
yeah,
don't get
35
married.
years newlyweds. So we have some insights to share with you.
We do. Okay, don't get married if. Don't get married if you think your spouse, the person you're going to marry, is going to be perfect.
Duh.
Oh, is that a duh?
But
there are people
a
that
lot of
think
people
that.
do that. Get married because they think their spouse is perfect. Also,
she's delightful, but she's not perfect.
Also,
neither am I.
This is going to throw a big wrench in your thoughts because, you know, you're all about finding the one. Oh. The problem is the one will change.
Oh, good point.
Don't get married if you think this person is going to be the same person for the rest of your lives.
Oh.
They're not.
Yeah, you gotta be ready to work with that.
Makes it scary. I know.
Don't.
That's a big deal.
That is a big deal. No, that is a big deal. And I think particularly when you're younger, you don't think about how much change is coming in your own life, let alone your spouse or, I mean, because then it happens in a whole family, right? I mean, we're talking about marriage, but change just happens. So, yeah.
Legitimately, and in the way I grew up, and I'm sure there are those of you growing up this way now, in this Christian mentality, this Christian world that says, not the world, I'm not saying the world's Christian. Oh, if only. I'm saying in the Christian world, a lot of churches, you are taught to believe God and find the right person, the right one.
True. It's commonly said.
And so you think you found the one, and then you get married. And I mean, there's so many things that can change that person, that can change you. You're going to change. So you're not going to be the same person in 10 years that you are now. Yeah. So there has to be, it's weird because you do want to find somebody who's compatible with you, that you have similar interests, that you have similar desires and goals and hopes for the future, all of that. But understand that all of that can change, which makes marriage even scarier in a sense to jump into. But that's just the reality. You're going to change. They're going to change. So don't get married if you think they're never going to change and this is your person, because they're never going to change. That's not realistic. Yeah.
I'm thinking of two other things. This one, I think, I've seen people do this. I personally think that if you're a Christian, if you're a believer, and you have a foundation of faith, don't marry somebody that doesn't also have that. Now, I'm not saying you have to be exactly in the same place in your
spiritual life.
Yeah, your maturity there, but you need to somewhat be on that same journey. And I suppose, honestly, you could also apply that to other things. Like if you're crazy committed to your career And like maybe you're in school and you meet somebody and you decide, okay, well, we'll get married, but you are doggedly committed to your career and you know that's going to be more important than your spouse. Don't get married.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think you could take that thought on religion, Christianity, but also things like career. You often see it with career, but there could be other things. I mean, maybe, gosh, you could even go simpler with this is maybe you're really committed to traveling the world and you're marrying somebody that doesn't even want to leave the county. You maybe shouldn't get married if it's like a really firm commitment. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's much more minor, but.
So let's talk about some of those myths that surround marriage.
Yeah.
There's this idea that you're going to marry your best friend and live happily ever after.
True.
And by all means, like that is ideal. That is beautiful if that happens. Often that is not what happens. You marry somebody that you fall in love with, that you think is your best friend, is exactly right. But what happens is you get married, and then if you have kids or dogs.
Oh, geez, we're not going there.
If you have other things that are influencing your marriage day in and day out, you have kids, you have dogs, your jobs change.
Sure.
Life happens. Yeah. Right.
Careers advance, all that. Yeah.
And so in the midst of all of that, you have this idea that you're going to marry this person. It's going to be like this. And the reality is a lot of marriage is about go with the flow and trusting the process and going along for the ride and
enjoy the journey.
It's a lot about people who have this ideal in their head, whether put there by, a youth pastors talking to them about a beautiful marriage, or put there by Disney, who creates whole worlds around a beautiful marriage. Right. Or Hollywood in general.
Yeah. Hallmark.
So you have this idea of what marriage is. And I just think it's important to understand that marriage is about being willing to connect with somebody and continue to press in and connect with them. And in the midst of whatever changes are happening, whatever changes are taking place, that you continue to press in to work together as a team.
Yeah. I think that leads right into another misconception that is also a proper conception. Marriage is a lot of work. So if you're not willing to work at it, you probably shouldn't get married. Now, I think there are people, and this is what I meant by misconception, but also a proper conception. It would be marriage is a lot of work. That is actually true. But I think people maybe look at that and think that that's like all bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's just a lot of work. And they, okay, there's going to be painful times. There's things that happen. My goodness, it could be a difference in opinion, or it could be a sickness, or it could be a death in the family, or, there could be there could be major things, minor things, or whatever that lead to you needing to do some work to keep that marriage healthy and vibrant. And so you need to be ready to do that work. But the other side of it is that's part of the beauty of the journey, because without pain, there's no growth, right?
Right.
And some of that hard stuff leads to a lot of growth. Now you can grow in other ways too, but there's a lot of growth through that journey and that process, including that hard stuff.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of work, but it's also worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. The question is a little bit difficult for me because there's so much surrounding it.
True.
I'm just thinking about, you think about our marriage, you think about other marriages that you've observed and how people do marriage. And
we've also been asked to do this on the fly. We just saw this.
Well, that doesn't bother me.
Okay, good. It's easier for you, maybe.
No, but I think the reason it's hard for me to narrow down is because I have so many thoughts about all the different things that we've seen, You see people have an affair and it breaks up the marriage. You see people have an affair and they stay with the marriage. And that marriage improves. It actually gets better.
Yeah.
You see, there's just so much people go through physical where, they get a disease, they get in a car accident, all these things that was never anticipated. And the response to that and the way people handle it is just so different.
No, it is.
And I just think it's important to understand that when you're entering into marriage, this idea of no matter what, that really, you need to be able, if you're going to make a commitment to marriage and you want it to be eternal, that sounds weird. You want it to be for the rest of your life.
Right.
If you're going to make that commitment, you have to be able to say, I'm going to do whatever it takes, no matter what. And I mean, in 35 years, I don't know if you've ever seriously thought about checking out. I definitely have. I have. I mean, we've had those discussions.
There's no news there.
But I don't know if you've ever had that thought. Probably not.
Well, I mean,
he's very like just.
It would be different, and this is part of. This would be another misconception: is don't assume you're marrying somebody just like you. I think people do tend to think, well, this is how I see it, so that must be how everybody sees it.
Yeah.
Or it's easy to think that. But as far as your question there, I think I would view it different. There have definitely been times where I'm like, that whole throw up your hands kind of thing of not that I actually did give up, but you kind of feel like damned if I do, damned if I don't. Can I say that on this video? I just did. So, where I can't win here and I don't know what to do. I'm at a loss. I'm frustrated. Those kinds of things that definitely probably put me in a mode for a week or two or a month or two, or maybe a year at times of, I can't do this anyway. So, why try and fail? It's easy to have those kinds of thoughts more than I'm going to check out.
But that is checking out.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
I mean,
good point.
At any rate, in 35 years of marriage, like, of course, there's been things that have made me go, I'm out. Like, it's not working. But I always say, every time I get to that place, I go, wait, my vows were that I'm in this till death do us part. I'm in this until one of us moves on to a new life. We die.
Right.
I'm in this. Like, those were my vows. Until one of us dies, I'm in this. So for me, it was like, it is, even when I feel like I'm out, I'm done. I have to always check back and go, wait, I made a vow and a commitment. And it's not that he has anything to do with that vow or that commitment. I'm choosing that vow and that commitment because those are my words. And I want to be true to myself. Like, I said this. Right. I'm going to fulfill this. Right. Because that's what I said. Yeah. Not because what he said, not because what he did, not because how he acts, not because, no, I'm in this because I promised I would be in this. And I'm not going to go against my own words. So then I'm going to fulfill my vows. Now, obviously, when we talk about this, I do believe if he was physically abusive, incredibly narcissistic, verbally abusive, there are other reasons I could check out, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a relatively healthy marriage. When I have felt like checking out, I can't let myself check out because I made a vow.
So don't get married if you're not going to be in it for the long haul.
If you can't say I'm in this no matter what, barring something, ridiculous, unhealthy,
right?
But if you can't say that, I would say don't get married because it will mess with you. You're better off being single. You're better off waiting until you find somebody that you can make that commitment to. And I'm going to be gut level honest. I think a lot of people don't really know themselves very well.
Oh, sure.
Until they're 25
or older.
So because of that, it's funny because we got married at 19 and 20. And I tell people if I were to go back and redo it, I would have waited, not because I didn't want to marry him, but because I was too young. And nobody said to me, you don't really know yourself at this age, and you're not going to know yourself until you're older. So it's a good idea to wait until you actually know yourself, because how are you going to pick healthy partner for life if you don't know yourself? As it is, it's almost like we chose at a young age. And so no matter who we become, no matter who we are, now we got to figure it out. That hasn't been all bad.
I was going to say, that's not all bad either.
So for me, I would always counsel people, wait until you're older to get married. And I think Seth would always counsel people.
Yeah, well,
do it when you're younger.
I would, because I would have a different take. I would be like, I agree with her. I didn't know myself at 20. There's so much I didn't know about myself, for sure. But I like, there's value to what she just expressed to you. But I also think if you get married younger and you grow through that process together, there's something rich and deep about that too. I also would apply that thought to don't think that just because there's challenging stuff to work through that's all bad. And I think we said that, but I think growing individually and growing together as a team, as a unit, as a couple has such deep, rich value. And I think that's why, I think even doing that younger is good.
Age. Right. You do it differently when you get married younger, but you do that at any age.
Sure. And you could make a case either way here. Marry young, marry later. You really could make a legitimate case either way. That being said, I think don't think that the work's not worth it.
Right.
Right? Because while it has not all been easy, there's also been lots of great joy in us as a couple, in our family, and the life and the journey, and even working through the struggle. You come to another end. Now there's another struggle waiting, but there's joy. There's joy along the way, and there's joy in that. Yeah. Does that make sense? But so if you're not willing to do that,
I heard recently that culture, even today still, which I find fascinating, dictates this idea that you should get married, that if you're single, there's something wrong with you.
Oh.
And I heard that from somebody and I was like, what? I was really surprised. I'm sure it's a little bit different, like California, New York, maybe bigger cities, more single people. It's less, less unusual to be single.
Okay.
But I found that fascinating that even today, people can be looked at negatively if they're single. And I would say, in light of that, don't get married if you don't want to. It's okay for you to just want to live a single life. And I think that is not well communicated. I think there's this expectation to get married, expectation to have kids. And while I'm for it, like it's a joy and it's fun, and having kids and seeing your kids grown and watching them have kids and all of that. Like it's such a good process and so fun. But if you don't want to get married, don't get married. And
there's biblical foundation for that.
Yes.
Clearly the vast majority of people do choose to get married for some pretty obvious reasons. People want to have kids and they want to have a life partner and, all of that. But you're right. Paul's pretty strong on that, if you can and want to remain single, that's certainly okay.
You should. Yeah.
So it's interesting that there's cultural pressure. You're hearing that. So it's interesting. So don't get married if you don't want to.
If you don't want to.
Don't be forced into it. And that's a really good point. I can't,
And or maybe you think you don't want to get married now, but you end up being 60 and all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to do the rest of this life alone. Because there is something as you get older, the idea of doing life alone when you're older, I don't know, to me is different. So even in that, like, that's okay. Maybe you want to be single until you're 60, 70. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's fine. I just think, understand that marriage is not a fairy tale.
Right.
It is not marry your best friend, live happily ever after. No, it's like, great, marry your best friend and enjoy life. But no, you are going to go through stuff because you are a human being on the earth.
Married to another human being on the earth.
If you were, even if you choose to live single, you're going to go through stuff.
Yeah.
And the difference is when you have somebody else there, you have somebody else's problems to deal with, but you also have somebody else's support and help.
Yeah.
And so just understand it's not a fairy tale. It is work.
Right.
But it is a beautiful thing if you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to go with the flow.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
for sure.
I would encourage that to be your perspective.
I would also say, and I don't know that we have much of this in our culture, but don't get married just for economic reasons, or if you're standing at the altar and you're looking at that person that you're about to marry and you're like, I don't want to marry this person. Don't marry him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get married just because the wedding's planned. Don't just get married just because it makes economic sense. Don't get married just, you need to have this level of commitment that you've just described, and you can't have that if you don't like the person.
Yeah.
Or don't want to go on that journey with them,
there's a reason marriages are failing, and it's because people go into it with these weird concepts and perspectives and expectations.
Yeah.
And so
that's true.
If you're going to go into marriage, go in it with your eyes wide open of what this is going to take and what you're approaching. Yeah. And give it your all and don't quit.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, there you go. There's our mystery topic.
Yes.
That was fun.
First one.
That was fun. A little more challenging maybe for me than I expected.
I know it was harder for me than I thought. But because of the trying to narrow it down.
Yeah, because there's been no time to you to narrow it down, me to narrow it up. Just to sort it and process. Anyway, that was fun. I hope you got some value out of that. I hope that maybe your decisions on marriage will be more solid. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for watching. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. We so much appreciate it. Please ring that bell so you'll get notifications and inspire others to subscribe. You're watching these, you must want other people to. And if you would like to submit a mystery topic, please do so in the comments, because we will put it out there and see what happens. Awkward conversation on your mystery topic.